If you want to sum up Canada in a headline, you might reach for the catchphrase "from A to Z." You'd be in good company. This slogan features in the titles of three books, items like t-shirts and YouTube videos, and news articles about everything from sports to the language itself. But what many people don't think about, even Canadians, is that small Canadian children often call the last letter of the alphabet Z instead. Normally, when linguists see a word or construction that's common among parents but not their kids, we simply conclude that there's a change going on, that in another generation it'll be a grandparenty sort of word and eventually pass into history. Chesterfield is doing exactly this in Canada. It's been receding for decades in favor of couch. But Z has been acting really weird. The linguist J.K. Chambers did a survey of Canadian 12-year-olds in the 1970s and found that two-thirds of them said Z. But when he went back and surveyed the same population in the 1990s, he found that the vast majority were now using Z as adults. The same shift happened with successive generations. Chambers figured that children learn Z from the alphabet song and American children's television programs like Sesame Street. But when they get older, they learn that ZD is associated with Canadian identity and switch. Indeed, noted Chambers, Z is one of the first things that American immigrants to Canada change about their speech, because calling it Z unfailingly draws comments from the people they are talking to. I first learned about this phenomenon when I was 18 in a linguistics class that I took about Canadian English in Kingston, Ontario. It stood out for me among the sea of dialect maps and survey methodologies because I realized that I'd done this exact thing. I was a child who sang Z at the end of the alphabet song in the 1990s, until some point around middle school when I switched to using Z consistently. What's more, I was still slightly embarrassed by this fact and had done my best to put it out of my mind, because clearly I should never have been using the un-Canadian Z in the first place. When I realized that I'd done this, I asked my mom what she called the last letter of the alphabet. I've only ever known her as a Z sayer, but apparently she'd done the same shift long before I was born. My switch from Z to Z happened at about the same age that I started consistently using Canadian spellings in words like center and color instead of center and color. I don't recall anyone telling me to do it, but I do recall it being a conscious choice, fueled by that exact sense of social identity that Chambers described. At the time, acquiring a sense of linguistic nationalism was a way of going with the flow, of following the dominant usage of my parents and teachers. In adulthood, especially on the internet, I use Canadian spellings in my posts and messages partly out of habit, but partly also because it goes against the flow. It's a subtle way of reclaiming space against the idea that all English speakers on the internet fit neatly into the choice I've faced in so many drop-down menus between American and British. We all make linguistic decisions like this all the time. Sometimes we decide to align ourselves with the existing holders of power by talking like they do, so we can seem rich or educated or upwardly mobile. Sometimes we decide to align ourselves with particular less powerful groups to show that we belong and to seem cool, anti-authoritarian, or not stuck up.